Excelente, etc.
Thrill me.
Be afraid. Be very afraid.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to the Horror Flicks and Guitar Picks podcast. I'm your host, Tim, and today's episode is a very special one, as it's our 40th anniversary reunion panel for Friday the 13th, Part 5, A New Beginning, featuring Melanie Kinnaman, Sloan, Bob Desimone, and Dick Wieand, recorded live this past weekend at Tidewater Horror Con. And I just want to start by shouting out Billy and Brian from the Tidewater Horror Convention for not only putting on another awesome convention this year, but just letting me be a part of it year in and year out. So I'm super thankful for that and just super grateful to those guys for letting me be a part of it. Also, just want to shout out my buddy Steven, who I co-host the podcast with, as well as my buddy Nick, who helped me run the table this weekend, as well as got some pictures of the panels I did, as well as filmed this panel for me. And I also want to shout out Zach from Death Curse Club, as well as Phil from Spook House Podcast. They also hosted some panels this weekend and absolutely knocked it out of the park. And last but not least, I just want to shout out everybody I met this past weekend. There were so many awesome people, from vendors to just people coming out, and a bunch of awesome cosplayers. It was an absolute blast, and I just can't wait for next year already. So thank you all so much for coming out. If you're listening or watching, just make sure you leave a like, subscribe, rating, comment, whatever's clever for whatever platform you're on. Thanks again for listening, and without further ado, let's get into this week's episode.
We'll start with, you guys jumped in on the 5th film. What was your, awareness of the franchise going into working on this one? We can start down there with ladies first, with Melanie.
I didn't know anything about Friday the 13th. I was not a horror fan, I'm sorry to say. I am now, but I wasn't then. So I knew nothing about it when I went to the audition. And after I got cast in the role, I said to the producers, I better see part 4 so I know what I'm getting into. So they gave me a private screening, and it was alone in the theater looking at this thing going, oh my God, this is the beginning of my life. It's very interesting, and I'm thrilled to have done it. Look at him.
Okay, I auditioned like Mel did. This is what you have to do to get a job in Hollywood. And then I got called back, which is very nice. They want to see you again, fun, and which is always a good thing. Because they start out with 75, maybe 100 people, and then you knock it down to 15 or 20 that can do the job. So, okay, so my agent called and said, I got the gig, I got the job. Okay, so what now I had to do, I had to figure out, who is this Jason guy anyway? I don't know. So I watched Richard Brooker's Part 3, and Brooker and I became very close, actually, eventually. But I watched Part 3 and I thought, oh my God, what have I done? So that's how we started to tackle things.
Well, I had no idea because my script said repetition. It did not say Friday the 13th. So I knew I was in a horror film. I knew I got decapitated, which was all exciting anyway. It wasn't until the first day of shooting where Tom Morga, who was the stunt Jason, walked by in a full wardrobe with a mask on and a machete, and he looked at every single one of us that was on the set that day, and all of us went nuts, going, oh my God, we're in a Friday the 13th! I mean, we went from a B slasher movie to an A slasher movie, but that's how I found out.
Well, I wasn't even cast in the thing, so you know this. First and foremost, I'm a drummer, and that's how I made my living. And I got into comedy and stand-up and whatnot. Then I did a few films, and then I left the film business. And Danny Steinman had used me in a film, Savage Streets. I played a character 2 different ways, and he said, I'd like to use you in any other films I do. Well, I left the business. He couldn't find me, and my brother, who's a director, told me he was directing the film, so I called him just as a lark. And he had 2 parts left, the guy who drives the kid up to the place in the beginning, and then the cocaine scene. So I kind of wrote those 2 guys together to make them one. And then it was kind of a lark for me. I just had fun doing those 2 scenes, and I was gone. And here we are.
So if I'm not mistaken, your character was 2 characters, and then you got to put them together for the film?
Yes, it would be weird to have the guy who pulled up to drop Tommy off to then show up as another character at the diner. So I wrote the lines. When she said, "Who wants to know?" I said, "The pride of the young." Thank you for my lines. Institute of Mental Health, who just dumped his last bedpan. So that helped make the audience understand I was the same character. And then after that, when I got in the car to blow the cocaine, which was all it said, he blows cocaine, I asked Danny if I could improvise, and he said, "Just do what you want." So I improvised that scene, and it was one take, and that was it. It worked. We didn't shoot an extra one. I told him I wouldn't do it the same way twice. So that's how that came about.
Awesome. And Ron, you got to ride around on a dirt bike for a lot of the movie. How was that, and also how was it working with Ethel? Those two characters are just my two favorites in the entire franchise. And did you guys get to work together beforehand and get those characters together, or was it kind of just come together on set? Because your chemistry is awesome.
Thank you. Well, first of all, and it's sort of, I don't want to say it was part of the audition, they asked me if I could ride a dirt bike, and I said yes, because that's actors do, they say yes to everything. No, but I actually could ride a dirt bike, but they wanted to make sure the day of shooting, so I was on the set, they took me up, and I was riding around through avocado and orange fields, and they, "Oh, okay, you can do it." The funniest thing was, in my death scene, when I pull up, before getting decapitated and I'm yelling, "They hurt me, Ma," and all that, they towed me in on a rope. It wasn't, it was like, wait, I did have to ride with the camera on the handlebars, which is very difficult, by the way, because it off balances the motorcycle. And Danny Steinman said to me, "Hey kid, you drop this bike, I'll really kill you." So yeah, and working with Carol Locatell, I mean, that's the cherry on the sundae, man. She was the best. She passed away a couple years ago from cancer. And very close to her, we got to do improvisation together. We had free reign. We did have dialogue, but we could venture off the dialogue as long as we kind of stayed within the realm of what the director wanted to accomplish. So it was a blessing to be with Carol. And by the way, a lot of people don't know she was a Broadway actress. She was on Broadway for 3 years. She was on a TV series called MASH, and The Flying Nun was her very first TV show. But I guess I'm showing my age.
And Dick, I know that they mentioned Tom Morga doing some of the Jason stuff. How much of the Jason stuff did you get to do? And then of course with the final stunt with the unmasking and everything.
Of course, most of it was Tom. Excuse me. I've got sinus problems. But I'm 80 years old, so what the hell. Yeah, Tom and I just did a show in LA. And we hadn't seen each other in 40 years, actually. And because we were supposed to see each other in Canada, but that show didn't work out. And it was a love fest. We got along so well. But actually, I had the mask on once, but it's not in the film. But Tom did most of it, and very well.
Yeah, that's awesome that you guys have built a friendship over the years. Yeah. And Melanie, you got to work with Shavar Ross, who was quite young at the time and stuff. Did you feel any extra responsibility doing those tense scenes, with somebody so young, but also how did you balance that with hitting your marks and doing so well, on your own acting?
Shavar Ross is the most professional actor I've worked with. I'm not kidding. I think he was 13 or 14 at the time, but he was a veteran in show business. I was not worried at all on the first day on the set, working with him. He was so great, I didn't have to worry about a thing the rest of the shoot. Shavar was very professional and very old for his age. As far as my stuff, I mean, I've been doing it for a while, so I didn't have any problems hitting my mark. The only hard part was the rain machines made everything very wet, and so everything was mud, and there were a few times that it wasn't meant for me to slip and fall, and I did, and I said, just keep it. It looks good,
And they also put you in a closet with a chainsaw, too, if I'm not mistaken.
My favorite thing.
Thank you. Now, and of course, I know not too long ago, you got to, intro the film at the New Beverly. I know Quentin Tarantino has mentioned it as his favorite. There's been a bunch of other stuff. What's one of your favorite things over the years, now that this is celebrating 40 years, that has really shocked you guys about the film that's held up, whether it's somebody, being a fan or just something that you got to go and enjoy because of, doing this film?
Well, knowing Quentin Tarantino is a big fan of Part 5, it's his favorite in the franchise, that was a big thrill. And then I met him. He's going to have a big screening in Los Angeles, and I think we'll be there, so that'll be fun. He does it on Halloween night. The most thrilling for me has been all of you. I am so shocked after all these years that the fans still come to see us, to meet us, to come to things like this and hear us speak. It's the best part of the entire experience for me of Friday the 13th Part 5 is all of you, really. And I thank you for coming out all these years and for loving us.
And that's the truth. It's so exciting for me and for all of us to actually meet people who really want to meet us. That's just, it's so exciting for us. And so I appreciate you guys. We all do. We all do. And my favorite death in the whole film is my own.
And my favorite part is that I didn't die. I live forever. Because I was supposed to come back in Part 6. That's a whole other story I'll tell you about. But so because Part 6 didn't happen for me, they changed the script. I live forever.
So guys, just remember, always donate blood. Everybody agree? But never in a horror film. I seem to die in everything. There's only one film I've done so far, horror-wise, that I didn't die yet. It's called Dylan's New Nightmare. It's a Nightmare on Elm Street. It's free on YouTube. So if you got time, pull that up. I don't die in that one yet. No, it's you guys. I mean, you guys make it all worthwhile. This is so much fun. Even the birthday boy in the front row here, Eddie. Everybody, happy birthday, Eddie! Woo! So, we've created a memory for you when you first saw the movie, like Eddie when he was 9 years old. And you guys have created so much memories for us. I mean, it's really amazing, the stories I hear when it was the first time you saw a film. And I mean, some of them are a little dicey. But really, thank you. Thank you for your love and your support and your friendship. We really appreciate it.
Well, for me, it's the same thing. It's the conventions and meeting people. But for me, because I was out of the business, I had no idea that the entire franchise was as big as it was. I had none. I got a phone call one day from someone who wanted to interview me, and I had no idea why. I had no idea that these films had gone on to be so popular. I thought maybe it was a drumming thing from my old band. So he explained to me the Friday the 13th franchise. He asked me for my email address, and I gave it to him. Next thing I know, son of a bitch, I don't know, it got out. Not that I don't love my fans, but I was bombarded with emails, and then people found my address, I don't know how either, so I'm getting mail literally from all over the world. And I was stunned, and these conventions have been going on for years, okay? So I had a lot of agents ask me to please do them, that I didn't know much about them, and Melanie is the one who, when I got a manager, she was my go-to girl. I went to my first convention just a couple of years ago, and she helped me through the whole thing, showed me the ropes, and still does. She's a savvy lady, I'll tell you that. So it's the fans. It's just the fans and the people, and my new girlfriend, Vicky, over there, who had to give me a big hug and the whole thing. I'm sorry, Susie, forgive me. I got you mixed up with the other Vicky. Susie, who gave me a big hug, and that meant so much that I just think that fans are truly what make this thing stay alive. And I'm so pleased that with all of the wholesale gore that you can find out there on all the new films, that the 80s horror flicks still have their own niche and their own charm, and that you people still appreciate it. So you folks are the best part of it all. Thank
What
you.
stuns me is that here we are all together with you guys, and we're meeting you and shaking your hands, and it's been 40 years. 40 years. I can't believe that. But because I did it when I was 40, and now I'm 80. It was 40 years ago. And it's just stunning.
All right, Dick, enough about how long it's been. God,
Don't remind them.
Mel's a lot younger than I am. Mel's a lot
Melanie was
younger than I am.
13 at
enough
the
already.
time.
Anyway, it's a...
We get it.
Yes, dear. Whatever you say, dear. I'm married, so...
Yeah, but she's not here.
Melanie, if you want to share the story about
Oh, part 6. I think it's an old story now, but yeah, for those that don't know. So, when I got cast in part 5, I was cast for 2 movies, 5 and 6. They had myself, Shavar Ross, and John Shepard. So we signed contracts. When I finished part 5, they sent me the script for part 6, and they said, we're going to start in a couple of months. I had only half of a script, so I only know half the story of what happened. But I will tell you, the reason it didn't happen was, as I'm preparing, I get a phone call from my agent that Paramount had called, and John Shepard doesn't want to do part 6. He doesn't want to do horror movies anymore, and he's against them, and he's a born-again Christian. I said, then get somebody else, because I'm ready to go. Get another Tommy, who cares? It's all about me. Anyway, they wouldn't do it. They said, we can't because he's so recognizable, because part 6 was going to start at the very end. You remember part 5 where it's the 2 of us and he's behind me? That was going to be the beginning of part 6. And Tommy was going to become the new killer. He was the new Jason for part 6. I think it would have been a great story and very interesting. As far as I read in the script, I was still alive. So I was devastated that I didn't get to do part 6. I think it would have been a great thing to have a continuity and go a different way. I think it was a great idea to try something different with part 5. Paramount said, well, since we can't have John as Tommy, we're going to go back to Jason. So that's what happened with my situation with part 6 and how part 6 became something else. My only consolation is that I live forever, because you know they were going to kill me. You just know it, right? But they had to pay me. I mean, it's a sad consolation. They had to pay me. I would have preferred doing the film.
And Dick, in this film, you play a lot of scenes where you're trying to stand out as a red herring without being the obvious choice. How did you balance that? Standing out in those scenes without being obviously look, I'm the killer.
I don't quite understand the question.
How did you, when you were told that you're the killer, how did you kind of keep that not affecting your portrayal of the role?
Well. For everybody's script, and usually I keep the scripts, but they took it away from me. Everybody's scripts, the last 5 pages or so, were not there. So nobody knew how it was going to end, to read it. So that was kind of interesting. What was the question?
How did you, they told you were the killer, correct?
Yeah.
So how did you keep that in yourself and have it not affect you playing the role of Roy?
I'm an actor.
And not, thank you. That's it.
I know what I'm doing.
Exactly. He's a professional.
And Ron, you had to go through head casting and all that for your kill. How was it going through all that back in the day, and then of course seeing it put on screen and pay off?
I was pretty lucky, actually, guys. I've always been lucky. I did what's called a showcase. It's a 5-minute scene. I would do it once a week at the Fountain Theater in Hollywood. And it was a dramatic scene I chose to do. And that night, Pamela Baster and Fern Champion, who were the casting directors on Friday the 13th, were there. And after doing my dramatic scene, they asked me if I could play a hillbilly. And I said, yeah. And I thought about, well, okay, what are you gonna do? And a friend of my brother's was really a jerk, goofy guy. I thought, well, if I portray him and add some more character to it, this guy, he's definitely backcountry hillbilly boy. And I had them laughing. They said, okay, we want you to come by tomorrow and pick up sides, which sides are not a whole script. It's just your part in the film. I was all excited. I picked up the sides. The next day they had me come in and I met Danny Steinman, who was the director on the film. And I made him bust up. I mean, we had a good relationship. And he said to me before leaving, I'm really gonna love working with you, kid. Well, my head exploded at that point, but then I thought, well, reel it in, you don't have the part yet. And Pamela Basker reeled it in for me too. She goes, okay, you have a call back tomorrow for Frank Mancuso Jr., who is the producer of the film. So again, you know, you got the butterflies that night, you're going over your sides, and I came in, and as I walked in, Danny said, hey, Frank, this is the kid I told you about. I'm gonna love working with him. Again, my mind's like, okay, reel it in, you don't have it yet. And luckily, I did get it, and it was, you know, the rest is history.
Thank you. No, I was actually asking about the head casting on your, like...
that was a nightmare. Talk about a horror film. So in order to make the head, you know, you guys probably have seen where they make a mold. Well, because my mouth is open, in my death scene, I'm screaming, ah! Well, I had to keep my mouth open as they did a cast of my head. So they put this goop that's, I mean, ice cold margarita headache cold. Seriously, not that I've ever experienced that. Literally, you get a margarita headache from it, and the goop is dripping in my mouth. They have straws in my nose so I can breathe, and I'm gagging on this stuff, and I'm like freaking out. And then they wrap you in plaster, like if you had a broken arm, or, you know, they wrap it in this hot plaster gauze. And for a moment you're going, oh, that feels good. Oh, good, the headache's going away. Oh, this is terrible. Oh, this is hot. The worst part is when they go to take it off your head, they use that same saw as they take off the cast on your arm, and it's an air saw. So you're hearing right through your brain. The guy takes it off. I can't remember his name from Real Effects. He takes it off and he goes, oh no, I think we have to do this again. I said, well, you better make that one work, buddy, because I'm not doing it again. And of course they did.
Thank you. No, Bob, your kill is very memorable as well, and of course the diner has become like a very visited location over the years. Have you been back for any kind of events, and can you kind of tell us a little bit about your experience filming your kill as well?
Well, actually, the diner is known as the Rock Store, and it's in the Malibu Hills in California, and I lived only about 9 miles from it. So it was a breeze for me to jump in the car, come over the Malibu Hills to the Rock Store. So that was easy for me. Shooting the scene, I have a lot of people on Facebook asking me, was that my Dodge Charger? And what a great spin out you did. And I said, man, that was a stunt, man. They wouldn't let me do that. I would have flown off the side of the mountain if I tried. So the stuntman flew in and did the donut, okay? And then I got in and did the scene. And I remember it was a cold night. Also, we had to delay the shooting by 1 day because they made a dummy of the back of my head. But at the time, I had a bald spot in the back of my head, like a monk. And I've taken care of that now. I just shaved my head, okay? So then they had to redo the whole head, and it held everything up a day. So, but shooting the scene was fun. Like I said, Danny gave me free rein. They took the side off the car, the door off the side of the car, and we shot the scene. And we had a good time. Do I go back to visit the rock store? I have been by there a million times. I'm a Corvette nut, so I would take my car up through the Malibu Hills and hang out there, get a bite, take off. Most of the time it's full of motorcycles. Motorcycles are sports cars, but it's still going strong. It's really a very special place out that way.
Oh, come on, Bob. You took chicks up there. You'd take them up in the dark and spin around. I'm an actor. I did a big scene here. I'm famous. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly
I know. You brought a lot of chicks up there.
Before we started, they took me in the studio, laid me down, and they did a cast of my head. And it took like 2 or 3 hours, maybe longer than that, for the thing to form. Then they took me out of it. And a fan gave it to me, actually, because it was worth a lot of money. And the story is that originally I was supposed to roll down a hill. That's how I was supposed to die. And then somebody said, that's already been done. So they decided to wipe it clean and start over. But I'm pleased to have that in my man cave.
And then, of course, with the franchise returning and everything, with Jason Universe and all this stuff, would you guys ever have any interest in, coming out for a cameo or, even doing some voice acting for the games if they wanted to put your character in it or anything like that?
No.
I would. There's been some talk about bringing some of the Final Girls back for the new series, so fingers crossed. As long as they don't make me wear that anymore. Because you actually look a hell of a lot better than I did. Look at your sweater, everything's perfect. I looked like I don't know what. But my excuse is that they kept hosing me down and rolling me in the mud.
Oh, I'd love to. Hey, an actor not wanting to work? Wait a minute. Of course, that'd be an honor to be part of the new franchise or an extended version of the franchise. I think that's fantastic, and it lives on and on like Jason and Freddy and Michael Myers, the boys.
I would do a cameo, or if they did a voiceover for maybe a cartoon version or something, I would do that. But I would demand them letting me, at my age, do the donut in the car. Just for fun, to see what would happen. But I'd be interested if the money was good and I had the time, and I got the time now and retired.
Oh, if the
I'd
money
do
was
it
good,
for free.
Yeah, I wish the money was
I'd do it for free.
And of course, we can open up questions to the crowd. If anybody wants to raise their hand if they have any questions, I'll walk around with the mic. If y'all want to share a mic, just in case they ask you guys.
Were there any deleted scenes that didn't make it in the final cut that you remember?
There was a lot more of Pam Roberts, character development, as they call it, in the film, that we shot. A lot of scenes with her where you get to kind of know her, why she was there. It's all deleted. They made room for the kills. They made room for the running and the chase scene. There's a lot of footage of running. So that was important to them and not the character development. So that was disappointing to me when I saw it. But I understand it's a horror movie. It's not character development of us,
So what made you want to start acting? What inspired you to actually become an actor?
I started out as a dancer. I'm from the East Coast, originally from Massachusetts, and then New York City, and I would go as a very young girl to New York City and audition for Broadway shows. I did 2. And then I wanted to be an actress all along, but my way in the door, I felt, was to do something else professionally, so that was dancing and singing. And I got to do a lot of that, but my intention was always to be an actress. So from getting in the chorus of some shows, I was able to step out and play roles or understudy big characters. But that was my plan. My plan was always to be an actress.
And for Mr. Motorcycle Man, did you ever actually drop the bike?
Did I actually drop the bike? Never. No. That was a kiss of death, for real. Actually, for you guys, the scene where you see the bike go up on the porch, okay, and there's also a wheelie scene. That's Gene Hargrave. He was my stunt double, and he has since passed away. But me getting the crap beat out of me, yeah, that was real. I actually got knocked out by Dick Warlock, who was our stunt coordinator. He actually connected. Thank you, Dick. And he taught John Shepard how to do the same thing. John actually connected, and I got knocked down while shooting. So, yeah, that was acting. Yeah, the blood was real, you know.
You know, I just want to say thank you guys for making such a large impact on my young life in 1985.
You poor thing. That explains it all.
We feel so bad.
Oh, but you all know my house, my car, everything. Friday the 13th. I just want to say, without the victims and the heroes of the film, there would be no Jason. So, and Jason is an important ingredient in the whole franchise, but it's you guys that give him that life. So thank you. That's what I say.
Thank you for being interested in us. Thank you.
So at the end, when Tommy comes out with the knife, you said you had half of the script. What exactly happens? Do you know?
What do you mean in part 6?
Yeah, in part 6.
I know that he was going to become the killer, and I know that he was killing. I was his counselor, so I was trying to obviously keep him from becoming a serial killer. So I don't know. That's as far as we got. I don't know if he actually took my advice or stabbed me in the face.
Okay.
Hello.
First, I would concur what that young gentleman in the front said, that y'all made my youth. I was also 15 years old when this movie came out. I'm a huge fan of the franchise, and it's such an honor to have met all of you. And Dick, I met you now twice, so it was an honor to meet you again. The only question I could think of, because part 5 did go in a very different direction from the first 4 films, and I was curious, I think you guys mentioned that some of you weren't sure you were hired or signed on to a Friday the 13th film, but I was curious if you knew that Jason Voorhees wasn't the killer, like they were going in a different direction.
The film was very unpopular when it first came out because there was no Jason. And so people weren't really interested. Over the years, however, it's become a whodunit. It's become a mystery. And it's attracted a lot more people for some reason. So that's why we're here. It's a different Friday the 13th. And part 5 is very well respected now. And initially it was not.
To answer your question, we didn't know that it was another killer. You know, I was told the whole story, so I knew going in that it was Jason, and that Dick was eventually the killer. But for me, for my part, and to play it, I believed that it was Jason chasing me. There was no other person. People ask me, oh, how does it feel to be... You weren't in a film with Jason. Yes, I was. The whole time I was running, screaming, and crying, there was a Jason chasing me.
Thank you so much.
She was the star of the show, and she was fantastic.
I mean, who else
She was fantastic.
Thank you so much.
And if did the other 3 of y'all want to answer the question of how you got into acting?
I was a student at Penn State, and I was going to be a teacher. So, an English teacher. And so, one of the courses I had to take was a course in theater, because being an English teacher, I'm probably going to get stuck with doing a high school play. Okay? So, I took the class, and a guy named Dick Davis taught it. And we did scenes, and we did this and that. And he came over to me and said, you know, I'm teaching an acting class next term. I'd like you to come and be part of it. So, okay, so I did that. And in the class was Bruce Davis and other people who've come to Hollywood. And all of a sudden I fell in love with it. I was never very good at expressing myself because I moved around so much as a kid, as a student. But this allowed me to do that somehow. And I really enjoyed it. That's what got me right there. And I decided, I'm going to try this.
Well, I did initially to fulfill an English requirement. It was so much easier to get up in front of people for me than to write a paper. So I was lazy, a little lazy there. But then after I got out of college, I got a job as a page at a TV studio. Page is an usher. So I was very fortunate. I got to work 8 Norman Lear shows, All in the Family, Different Strokes, Facts of Life, One Day at a Time, and then a bunch of specials. And one night, and of course I wanted to be on any and everything, but I wasn't allowed to, at least those shows. And one night, Norman Lear, God bless him, actually called me up on stage with him to help warm up the audience. And I got to play Meathead for the warm-up in All in the Family. After I did it, and he was laughing, he said, "Hey, you're really good. I want you to go see my casting director, Jane Murray, and tell her I sent you." And the gates of heaven opened, man, because I got what was called under fives, and that was under 5 lines. So I'd be a cop and say, "Freeze or you're dead," or, you know, "Get the crash cart, Bill." I played all these different roles, and it was so cool. But that's really my big break, and then it just got better and better from there.
For me, as I mentioned, my first thing has always been drumming, music. And after that, I got involved in stand-up comedy and improv groups and whatnot. And but while I was drumming, besides playing with bands and people on the road and whatnot, I used to get these little parts in movies and TV shows called sidelines. And if there were a scene in a movie or a TV show where there was a band playing, I would be in that band. Because at the time I was considered marred. I had long hair, but I wasn't scuzzy, so I looked marred. Does anybody know that expression? No? Oh my God, am I old. Anyway, I did a lot of those. So that kind of got me into film. Then my brother, as a director, said, "Let me put you in a couple of little parts." And then my brother was to direct Savage Street. Something happened. I was cast. Danny Steinman took over, and that's how I met Danny. And then, of course, I fell into Friday when my brother told me he was shooting. He was looking for me. I may have had a bigger part. In fact, I would have. He told me I would have had a bigger part. But I am overjoyed at the part that I had, the small part, because I got to fool around. And that was the best part of it for me. But I never really started out as an actor.
Well, that's all, everybody. I appreciate y'all so much for coming up for the panel and for the 40 years of the film, celebrating. This is my favorite of the film. This is my favorite of the franchise as well, so I'm really excited to chat with you guys.
That's why we like you so much. I could feel that. It's your favorite one of the franchise. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the fact that it's the first one that shows the love between a father and son instead of the mother and son type thing, so that's a nice little...
You know, guys, we're doing a photo op after this, so if you guys want a picture with all of us, please feel free to sign up because it's going to be a lot of fun.
I'm interested in the mysterious guy sitting in the middle with the dark sunglasses. He looks like a serial killer. He's talking now, but he's just been sitting there very quietly staring, and he'd be a great fixture in a movie. See that look? That's a serial killer. Hello.
Well, thank y'all so much. I appreciate y'all.
Thank you guys for coming.
After the photo ops, we'll be back at the tables, so probably about an hour.